So a lot of people think that their wages are more connected to their skills, but actually that's untrue. And on page 38, he makes that point. He says that the truth is that the increase in what is so-called the productivity of labor is due to the employment of better tools and machines. And so it's not necessarily you. It's probably even less you. It's more what things you are working with while you're at work. So maybe some software you're working with, rather than doing, if you're an accountant, for example, rather than writing everything down on spreadsheets, which they used to do. Now you use spreadsheets on a computer, and you're far more productive with using an Excel spreadsheet, for example. Or you might consider, obviously, the tools in a factory. And another thing he says that I think is interesting and probably a lot of people don't know about, he says that this improvement is not conditioned by higher skill, competence, or application on the part of the individual worker. It is a fact that the proficiency needed by medieval artisans towered far above that of many categories of present-day factory hands. So that's something interesting to take into account. A blacksmith, for example, a town blacksmith, had far more skills at what he did than a modern-day factory worker. A modern-day factory worker is basically just labor. And I worked in a factory. I had no skills coming in to work in a factory. I was trained on the job, and the kinds of things you did, anybody could have done. So obviously, then your wages are not going to be very competitive with other people because there's tons of people who could replace you, and your wages are in many ways correlated to how many other people in the world can do your job. So if you can find some niche where very, very few people can do that, and of course people demand what you do, then you can get a very high salary for it. But if you can be easily replaced, as I was in that factory, then your wage is going to be less. Now, of course, if you have a union, which there was a union, then you tend to get more. But still, this interesting question about, well, what skills do you bring to your job? Well, there's some, but most of your wage is actually not about you. It's about you in your seat at your desk with all your equipment and computers and video cameras and whatever it might be. That's actually more explains more your productivity than yourself. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make in terms of they think that the workers really are the ones who are doing all the work in a factory or a corporation or whatever it might be, where actually much of the productivity is because of the tools and equipment that the owners of your business purchased for you to use, and that most of your productivity is your use of the equipment, not actually your labor.